So far, we've looked at how to read a node from our document and update our node from our document as well. Now let's look at how to create a node. All right, let's say if you want to create something new and fresh, let's say a particular button is clicked and you want to add something new animation to show up and some kind of new text or element or button or some kind of div to show up on our page, right? So we look at the create/clone element section over here. So it's pretty simple. You simply say document.createElement and you provide the name of the element, and that's it. You have created that particular div. Now what you would do is once you have created the div, let's say you want to add certain text to it, then you would simply capture that particular newly created div in a constant or a variable, and then you would say the name of the node dot text content is equal to whatever text you want to add to it. All right. And if you, of course, want to create a node which is text node, you would say document.createTextNode and provide the text. So let's take a look. Over here, I'm going to simply clear this. And in our page, we have the same code. So I'm actually going to remove this header. We don't need that. Refresh, and this is pretty simple. So over here, let's say I want to create a new button. We don't want this particular button. We're going to create it newly. All right, so save. Refresh, it's not there. So now we want to create it, let's say programmatically. So I'm going to say document.createElement, and then in that parameters, we're going to provide the name of the element. It's called button. Now we're going to capture that newly created button in a variable. So btn is equal to, and we capture that, right? Now, one thing to note is when you actually create the button, it's only created inside our JavaScript file. It's not represented in the document of the page. All right, so it's just created, but it's not represented on the page. It's not somewhere on the page. We'll have to add it to the page. All right, so now we have created that. And now let's say if I want to add the text content to it, I would say button.textContent is equal to click me please. All right, save. Refresh, we don't have any errors, so that means something is right. Now, the part comes where we want to add this particular button to the page, okay? So, to do that, over here, there's a section called Add Node to Document. So, the way to do that is you actually provide the name of the node, which you want to put it inside the parent node. So, you say parent node dot append child, and then you provide the new node that you just created. Now, let's say if you want to add the node, let's say above or beneath something, let's say above, you would say parent node dot insert before, and then this is the node that we just created, the button, and then this would be the child node, which is inside the parent node. So let's take a look, right? Over here, let's say if we want to add, let's say where do we want to add it? Let's say if we want to add it inside main, okay? So how would we do that? We would simply, first of all, we need to capture the main element, all right? How do we capture? We do const, let's say main is equal to document.query selector, and we would provide main. And that would capture the main element in this main variable. So that's basically the parent node. Now you would say main, because that's the parent node, dot append child. So append it inside. What do we want to append? You want to append this button. So I'm going to provide btn. Now when I save and now I refresh, oops, where is the button? Oh, it's over here. It's scroll down. Where is it? Where is it? Okay, here it is. It is appended to the very bottom of the page. So now you may be saying, hey, I don't want it on the bottom of the page. Let's say if I want it on the top of the page or maybe before this particular paragraph. So for that, what we do is we use insert before. So let's say if you want to insert the same node, but before a particular node, all right? So this is how we do it. We already captured that. Now we want to capture the first node over here, all right? So we want to capture that. We would say const, just call it first child. And how do we find that? I would say document.query selector, and I would say, okay, get me the first paragraph inside main. And this is just a CSS selector, So main is the element, go inside main and get the P element. And since I'm using query selector and not query selector all, it's just going to get the first one it finds. So that would be the first element. All right. So now, instead of doing it this way, I would actually say insert before. I want to insert button. What do I want to insert before? First child. It should be before first child. So I do that, save. Now refresh. If I scroll up, you see it's in the very top. So if I look over here, inside main, you see button is on the very top because we wrote this code. So I know this may be a lot to digest, so watch it multiple times, but actually do this in your code. If you don't do it, you're not getting anything, all right? So this is extremely important. So practice this, play around with this, and also read the Mozilla documentation. If you want to read much more details about it, you can simply Google document.createElement of whatever you want to study and do Mozilla like such, and you would read everything about this particular method. They have a very good documentation. It's slightly dense at times, so it's okay if you don't understand all of it, but it's going to be awesome. If you want to learn about DOM, this is very important. You simply do document DOM Mozilla. Whenever you add Mozilla in the end, it's going to look for the Mozilla documentation. So look for Introduction to DOM and read that one as well. So they have a very good documentation. Keep on reading, keep on understanding these concepts and implement them. We're going to look at, in a few lessons, a practical project to build as well. So talk to you in the next lesson.